Hi, everyone, and welcome to our info session. This is an info session on career pathways in data analytics, data science, and machine learning. This session is recorded, so everybody who is attending this session, who was registered for this info session, will get a link to the recording as well as the slides for this presentation. My name is Nabil, and I work at the School of Continuing Studies in the non-credit department. I'm here today accompanied by my colleagues Alejandro Gutierrez and Nabil Beitinjaneh, who are both our faculty lecturers teaching in these programs that we will cover today. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please type them in the chat. We will be covering all the administration questions at the end. I think now, Nabil, Alejandro, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you for introducing us, Nadia. We will start with the presentation with you. You know, there's Alejandro and myself. We both teach in the program. And we'll start by just giving you, there's some rhetorical questions that we ask at the beginning, which is, is data science in your future? And in the presentation, we're going to try to touch on most of these items and give you some insight in how we think about these items and how the program or the professional development certificate would help you achieve, your objectives in this area. We will answer your questions at the end, but if you have any questions, please type them in the chat and we will get to them as we can. So today's agenda is we're going to talk about data science, data analytics, and AI. We're going to talk about some of the challenges we have with data. We'll talk about different things like what, the field is growing. You all know that, what career options people have and skills required. And we'll get down into the nitty-gritty of this program and what discounts are available to you. So ask questions. We will answer all of them at the end, and we will stay a bit at the end to ask any or answer any questions that people may have. This is what I look like in a picture, big smile. I'm a faculty lecturer and I'm the data programs coordinator at the School of Continuing Studies. I've been involved with the program from day one, and along with many different people, we have put together this program and we teach it. My background is in engineering, electrical engineering, and I have an executive MBA. I've worked in industry and as an entrepreneur for many years. Alejandro?
Yep, I'm Alejandro Gutierrez. My background is computer systems engineer. I also have a master in entrepreneurship, a PhD in project management. I have the PMP certification, an Excel certification, and I'm typically involved in courses that integrate the business and the technical aspects related to data science and machine learning.
Before we get started, really into it, but we'll give you some examples of why this is so important, and we're going to share with you. And I'd love to, this is one way also to engage with you and see, get some, input from you. When you look at this graph, does anybody know what this visualization is called? We're talking about gender pay gap in 2011. The source is Bureau of Labor Statistics in the USA. We're talking about on one axis, we're talking about men weekly median salary, and on the other one, we're talking about women median salary. So does anybody know what this graph is called, or this type of visualization would be called? I can see the chat. Could you see them?
Yeah, I can see the chat. Yeah, I can see the chat. Just type the answer in the chat, please.
Yes.
I think everyone is typing their answers, and I am probably the only one who could see them.
Oh, okay.
For some reason, I would just like to ask everyone, when you type an answer, just select everyone or the panelists, because for some reason I'm the host. Yeah, okay, now I see answers being sent to everybody.
Excellent. Well,
scatter plot.
Yes, fantastic.
Excellent.
Yeah, So it is a scatter plot, and on one axis we're talking about men weekly median salary, and on the other women median salary. Fantastic. Does anybody know what this is telling us? Do men earn more than women? Do women earn more than men? What is this what is this scatter plot telling us? That there's some correlation between. Okay, yes. Any other inputs? Women make as much as men over time. Okay. Are you sure about that one? It's unclear. When you look at the graph, you can see that their correlation, they're matching each other, but are they matched? And when you draw the line of equal pay, which goes, when you look at the 0 point, the 500, 500, 1,000, 1,000, and you connect them all together, you get the equal pay line. And on the top, you put women paid more. On the bottom, you pay men paid more. What comes out? It's pretty obvious right now that, yeah, they are close to each other, but definitely men earn more than women, besides in the case of computer support specialists. Small modification to a visualization can make it much more interpretable and understandable to people. And this is one of the things that we hope we will impart to you throughout the different courses we're giving you, is that you have data, you have visualizations, but then you have to think in terms of audience and how to make it easy for them to see it. You don't want people to start looking at it and saying, I think they are paid the same, but I'm not completely sure, because they're close, but not close enough. Okay, let's look at another graph. And now we're talking about, using visualizations for different purposes. Some of you may know what who Fox News is, but this is a graph that was showed by Fox. Can anybody tell me what's wrong about this? I'm pointing you down the path of, this is not a visualization which is done properly. What's wrong in this visualization? Think in terms of the axis. Should be bar chart, that's one. Scale, and scale is not graded properly. I think you guys got it. Look at, if you take the dates, December 07, September 08, this is 9 months. And then you have 6 months for these two. And then you have, so much time between this one and this one, a year and 3 months. So this is not scaled properly. If you take the same graph and you do it properly according to proper, intervals, this is what the graph would look like. They want it to look like a linear graph, but the reality is it's not completely linear. And it's important to see that. It is misleading. And this is how you lie with statistics. Now we look at another graph, and we're talking about number of murders using firearms. They're talking about, there's a law that came into place. Now, tell me, does this law help or not help the gun deaths in Florida? Your first reaction is, it helped. But if you think about it carefully, look at where the 0 is and look at where the 1,000 is. If anything, since 2005, there has been more gun deaths in Florida than 2000, in 2010 or whatever that the scale is. You have a lot more deaths from gun deaths than in 2005. So these are different examples of visualizations. We're using data, we're trying to look objective, but when you look at it very carefully, there's a lot of things going on in the background that you should be aware of. And we want you to be, cognizant of that, throughout the program. This is the last graph we're going to show you before we go into more details. But you look at this graph and we talk about Iraq's bloody toll. And you look at this graph and it does look pretty bloody. Like the person who did the visualizations using red, he flipped he or she, they flipped the graph around, and by flipping it around, the lines look like you have blood coming down. this is amazing when you look at it from a visualization perspective. The message there is there's been a lot of people dying in Iraq and it's a bloody toll. But you can take the same data and you can flip it around and come up with a totally different message using the same data. And this is pretty amazing. Same data, same graph, same everything. Just flip it around, change the title, and you have a total different message. On one hand, you're looking at bloody toll. On the other hand, you're saying, hey, things are getting better in Iraq and deaths are on the decline. What message do you want to take? Well, it depends on your audience and depends on what message you're trying, like you as a visualization, what are you trying to do with that data? Obviously, this is not a subject to joke about. A lot of people have died in Iraq, and the problems continue. Alejandro?
Yeah, and that is what Nabil showed you are excellent examples on how you can transmit a better message. How can you really convince your audience? And the nice thing is that you can learn many of the principles that Nabil showed you, and there are references, guidelines, tools that allows you to become a better visualization expert, a better producer of conveying messages using data. And data is going to be the raw material that you're going to be working with. And the good thing is that there is a lot of data that we can potentially analyze. Actually, it even becomes a challenge to be able to analyze all the data that is available. But what it creates is a massive opportunity for experts in the area, because we have data that is structured, nicely organized, but we also have data that is disorganized in the organization, sometimes stored in hidden Excel files that are stored in an old computer, that you need to start searching for that data and integrating it in a way that allows you to then analyze it, produce models, conveying, creating visualizations like the one that Nabil showed you. And this is another example of a huge amount of data that is produced, that is being produced every day, actually every minute in this chart. And there are others that are every second, every day. Basically, we are producing a vast amount of data every second, every time we're using our cell phone, every time we're connecting to the internet. We are generating data that has the potential to become part of our analysis, that become part of a new model that allows you to change a process, create a new product, create a new service using data. You want to go to the next slide? And these are other examples of the amount of data that is actually hidden in the organizations. It's called dark data, a very flashy name to just mention things that companies store, but they're not analyzing in an efficient way. So sometimes we are storing data, but we don't really produce any kind of valuable insight, valuable report, valuable model out of the data. So that is also a huge opportunity, because we need people that are skilled into detecting data, into framing problems that can be solved using data, people that are skilled at extracting data from multiple sources and producing different kinds of models and analysis. So it's very interesting opportunity in terms of the raw material that you could be working with, data. And as we progress in this presentation, we're going to tell you more about potential roles that usually use data to drive decisions. But the opportunities are there, because we don't live in a perfect world, although we are storing data and collecting data as much as possible. But now we need to really derive interesting material, interesting models out of all these resources. Nabil, do you want to continue?
Sure. So to follow up with what Alejandro was saying, the challenges we have is how do we choose the right data? There's a lot of data out there, even within our company. How do we even know what's out there? How do we make use of it? And most importantly, the real big challenge for all of us is how do we make or turn that data into useful insight? For us, that is really the key question that we need to ask ourselves throughout, the program, and throughout, whenever you're working, is what are we doing with this data? How can we benefit the business or the organization that we're in using that data? What value can we bring to the table? Because our approach or our thinking process is you don't just solve problems, you're trying to solve problems that either help the company bring in more customers, give them better service, solve more problems for them, or you're trying to reduce costs for your organization.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's, I think, a beautiful marriage between the business problem, the data that you have available, and the technical, the techniques that you can use to really combine those two.
So we talk about data analytics. There's a lot of words that are being used. You heard data science, you heard data analytics, you heard artificial intelligence. So we'll touch on them very quickly and try to talk about the differences between them. Here we talk about data analytics. So a data analyst, and the role of a data analyst is to extract insights from data sources, and they have a focus on processing and looking at the data of existing data sets using different techniques from stats, machine learning, and other fields like you would have in operations research. So when we talk about a data analyst, the data analyst will be somebody that will report and present data in an impactful manner using visualization. So what we saw earlier on would be done by data analysts, but they also could be done by a data scientist. So the difference, we'll get to that in a couple of slides, but it's important to know what a data analyst would do. And here we talk about some of the shortages we have in the marketplace. The numbers are big numbers. It doesn't really matter what it is, but everywhere you're going to go right now, you're going to hear people looking for data analysts, data engineers, data scientists, etc. There's a lot of job openings in that particular space. We talked about this in a different way, where we talked about there's a lot of data out there. The exact number changes, and these are estimates, but there's a lot out there. When we talk about zettabytes, etc., and exabytes, etc., those are numbers that we can only conceptualize around. We cannot really understand them ourselves. The businesses are growing. What I like about this slide is they talk about insight-driven businesses are growing more than 30% a year. And when we talk about data-driven organizations are more likely to acquire customers, 6 times as likely to retain customers, and they are more likely to be 19 times more likely to be profitable. These are very important points that confirms that looking at data, working with data, and understanding how the data could help the business could make the business a much more profitable going concern. Alejandro?
Yeah, and there's not only one role that takes care of converting the data, producing models, producing the visualizations. There are multiple roles that are going to be working together to produce these kinds of solutions. So we have, for example, a data engineer that is typically working with cloud infrastructure to store the data and make it available for the data analyst or data scientist. So we have a role that is more on the technical side. It's going to be typically working with Python and typically working with servers. We have other roles that are more on the business side. We need people that can manage these new types of projects. So if you're someone that is more on the project management side, well, if you understand the principles behind these kinds of new types of models, new types of analysis, the new types of roles we need, then we need people that also can propose projects, can manage those projects as a project manager or even as a product owner or product manager. We also need people that are specialized in producing machine learning models, which is one of the main components of these projects that use data to predict what is going to happen, to create new products or services that at the core are using data to create new kinds of solutions. Well, we need roles like data scientist, machine learning engineer that is in charge of producing those, putting those models into production, and a business analyst that can really be the the translator between the business requirements and the technical aspects. So the nice thing about these projects is that there are opportunities for people with multiple backgrounds and multiple interests.
Yeah, and even the word expertise comes into play, because in some of the bigger organizations we talk to, you might have even someone that specializes in visualizations. I've heard the title of visualization specialist or visualization engineer. We talked, the word business analyst is here. Now there's something called a data analyst. Like there's it always did exist. So the titles are in flux. There's a lot of definition coming into place. There's a lot of discussions right now on the ops side of the house. So you have ML ops, AI ops, and something called system reliability engineer. There's all these roles that are being defined as we speak, and there's when we talk about a data scientist or any of these positions, they may have one or more skills available to them. So this tries, and this is, well, we like this graph a lot because it shows you, that between analytics and data science, there's a lot of, when you look at the, on the left-hand side, you have domain knowledge, visualization, data governance, engineering, etc. And you find that all the roles will need them, but just different at different degrees. There's some areas where you need less of. So for example, if you're a data-driven decision maker, obviously your knowledge of engineering, detailed engineering is not that required. You still need some, but you don't need to be very technical. That's why you have the technical people behind you to do that job.
Yeah, definitely. There is an overlap in terms of the skills and the knowledge. And the good thing is that depending on your background, you can decide what is the right configuration for you.
Yeah. And another thing to keep in mind is this is not something that you can acquire overnight. These are knowledge bases that take years and years and years of work to learn them and unlearn them, because there's always new things coming up and you have to keep abreast of what's happening in the industry. So it's important for you to be, well, it's not important, it's essential, I would say, to be curious, to keep on learning. So if you make a decision to be in the data world, you're making a decision to keep on learning and go a lot beyond what you learn in class. It's not something you learn in class once and that's it. You know everything you need to know for the next 10 years. I would say you're at the beginning of a path. You know what to do, and then from there you're going to be looking at specific problems, specific techniques, and going a lot deeper into them.
Yeah, absolutely. That also creates a huge opportunity, because as you progress, you can start you can focus on certain areas and then combine based on your interests, based on your expertise.
In this slide, we talk about the role of a data analyst. We touched on it a bit earlier on, but here we're talking about collecting, analyzing, and reporting data to meet business needs. And we talk specifically here about what new sources of data are out there to bring together and enrich. We talked about all these different sources of data that might be out there, like social media. You might be collecting data through IoT and Internet of Things. There's a lot of different ways you will be going about it. So it's important for a data analyst to do that, and helping business leaders make key business decisions based on data, not based on what we think is right or what we believe is right, given history, given, it's important to have gut feelings, but it's more important to, look at things from a, objective perspective using data.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is an interesting shift in the mindset that needs to happen. And once you achieve that shift, then it really is where the improvements of using data to drive the decisions really shines.
So a data scientist does what a data analyst does, but does a little bit further there, which is, when we talk about features, how do we create features that could be used for our models? How do we combine different, attributes of the data that we have? How do we run experiments so we can check what's going on? How do we test different models and see what output there is? to make decisions on which model is better, which one takes less time to train, which ones could be used in production, etc. That's the role of a data scientist. And they will usually have an expertise in different areas, such as image analysis, text analysis, recommender systems, etc. So here, in this slide, we talk about 10 high-paying jobs. It gives you an idea of what's out there more than anything else. There's a source for it, but it tells you that, data analysts, data scientists, data engineers are all positions that are well paid and have a lot of, there's a lot of jobs opening up right now. And if you look at it at the end, there's project manager and product managers, which we consider to be very important in the process. So now we get to the question is, how do you launch or advance your data science career? And we have 3 different certificates available to you, depending on your background and your interest. We will focus on the first 2, because the third one, which is the Applied Artificial Intelligence, is a follow-up certificate. So the first 2 programs, the Data Analytics for Business and the Data Science and Machine Learning, is where you would be starting with us. So either you choose to be in the Data Analytics for Business one, or you decide to be in the Data Science and Machine Learning one. What's different between them? The difference is actually, for both of them, let's just focus on what's common between them. The commons, you learn about technical skills, you learn about soft skills. The difference between them is, I would say, in the data science and machine learning program, you will be programming using Python a lot more, and you will be doing some data engineering work in it. There's a course which is Data at Scale, in which you would be doing data engineering. Whereas in the other program, the Data Analytics for Business, you will be focusing on the data analysis part, using visual tools, using SQL. You will be focusing on the business side of the data analytics side. But you will be learning about machine learning. Don't just because there's no machine learning in the title doesn't mean that you will not be learning about machine learning models, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. Learning it and using it, because the way the program is configured and the tools that we use throughout the program allows that both profiles produce the same kind of machine learning models and are able to analyze the results, make recommendations, and even implement those models.
And the difference, you can see it in this slide. This slide kind of highlights the difference. On one side, we talk about machine learning using visual tools. On the other one, we talk about statistical machine learning and deep learning with Python, Keras, and TensorFlow. So now we're talking technical terms versus visual tools on the other side. On one side, we're going to be talking about statistical data analysis. On the other one, you're going to be doing statistical machine learning, where you're going to be using Python. We'll do in Hadoop on one side. On the other side, we're going to be using SQL to access databases and get data from them and join them, etc. So these are the big differences between them. On the data analytics for business, we focus on the work you need to become, a product manager team, working with data teams, more focus on visualization, communication, etc. Those are things, data governance. Those are topics we cover more on the data analytics for business, and we cover less on the data science and machine learning, because the people there will be doing more programming type work.
Yeah, and just one comment about the rationale why we have a program more for people that are going to be programming with Python and other for people that are not typically working with this programming language is because we believe that programming is a skill that you use it or lose it. So if you're not typically working with programming languages, but you're interested in learning how to produce these machine learning models, then the DAB program, the Data Analytics for Business, is the right program for you, because without really having to cover Python and without really knowing how to learn to program using R or Python, you're going to be able to produce the same kind of analysis. On the other hand, if you are working already with Python, Java, HTML, and the programming language, learning a programming language is something that you aspire to or you're already working with, then we have the data science and machine learning program, where you will continue improving your skills and produce advanced machine learning models.
One of the ways to look at it, if you want to simplify the view between the programs, if you're going to be doing the data science and machine learning program, you are going to be programming. You're expected to be programming every day of your life, or most of the days of your life, in your work after that. So if you don't believe you're going to be programming regularly all the time, I should say, then you should look at the data analytics for business, because you learn exactly the same concepts, but you learn how to use tools to get to the same results. You use visual tools. We have Alteryx, we have Tableau. Those are the tools that we focus a lot on in the program, and you will be able to do a lot of data analysis and create machine learning models using these tools. So the focus is more on the concepts, how to get to results, and the data. If you want to take the data engineering and data science side, it'll be done in the data science and machine learning program. Now, for the applied AI, applied artificial intelligence certificate, it's a follow-up. So either you have done the first certificate, which is the data science and machine learning one, then you can go there to do it, or you have a lot of industry and technical expertise, and you know how to do machine learning at scales. We will actually test you on your knowledge of the topics, and then you can do it. So when we talk about our programs, they're part-time programs. They usually go on between 6 and 9 p.m. The program takes approximately 1 year to do. It's usually 1 year, 1 semester, or something along those lines. You're given 2 years to complete the program. The reason we put a deadline on it is that if you're not regularly using the program, then and the knowledge in it, then you will be you get rusty and you forget about things, and you're starting again might not be very good for you. Each course is approximately 10 weeks, and in the fall, possibly, we may be going back to having some courses in an in-course format. All of these courses I talked about right now are online. We might be going back to some in-class courses, depending on what the COVID-19 rules will be.
I just want to mention that when we say online, it means that we have spent a considerable amount of time designing an online experience. So it's not just us connected by Zoom. We have designed a structure, exercises, asynchronous material, videos that you're going to be watching, additionally to having live sessions with us every week during the 10 weeks. So it's not a quick online course. These are courses that have been designed by McGill with the help of subject matter experts, and they use multiple tools depending on the content.
Yeah, so we actually found that the online formats are very, the students really like it, and we found, if you want to take it from a knowledge perspective, that many students have learned more in the program than online than when they were in person, because they were a little bit more condensed. We talked 6 to 8 weeks. People have more time to absorb the material, etc.
Yeah, and everything is recorded. Everything is available after the live session, so you can go back and watch the live session or the videos or the material. So it has advantages, especially if you have a busy schedule or if you want to really review in detail what is being covered during a course.
We talked about, indirectly, we talked about the approach we're going to be taking. We're very practical. We come from industry. Most of us are industry people. So we teach you concepts, but we always want to tie that into practice. And we let you work with data a lot. Like we really want you, if you take the first course, for example, by the end of the first course, you'll be able to take raw data, add to it another set of raw data, and present back to executives what you found and some recommendations on what you found. And this is done, you at the beginning of the course, you would not be able to do it. But as the course is progressing, you're learning, we're giving you building blocks that you put together in the final assessment to make it happen. So there's a lot of practice, there's a lot of working with the tools that we give you, so you build up expertise and you understand how things work. Because it's easy, there's a lot of talk is easy, but really understanding things, there's only one way to do it, is to work with your hands, work with the computer, work with the data. Our class sizes are small, they go anywhere between 10 to 30 people. So there's also a chance for everyone to get to know everybody else in the program, in the class, and in the program, and learn from each other. Most people come to us, they're coming to us, they have anywhere between 5 to 10 years of experience, so I would say the average age is around 35. They have industry experience, so it becomes interesting for people to learn from each other, and that's one of the advantages of a program like this.
Yeah, and we have in the courses activities like projects, sessions where you're going to be working with your colleagues synchronously, asynchronously. So you really get, even in the online format, you get to know your classmates and you get to create connections.
So we do have group assignments and assessments along the way. So this is important for to see where you are. There's nothing like asking for questions or solving problems to really make you reflect about what you have learned and try to put it back into your answer, or checking which answer is correct. We're big believers in that, because when you read something on your own, you may understand it or you believe you understand it, but it's only when you have to explain it to somebody else or apply it to a question or a situation, then you really understand the material that goes with it. So this is the first program. This is one of our students, Sean, and we're going to talk about what's in there. These are some of the business or the outcomes you would come out if you do the data analytics for business. So I'm just looking at this, and we covered a lot of these points. I'm just going to pick one or two just for discussion purposes. So number 9 is very important. Effectively communicate data insights by using data visualization and storytelling tools and techniques. This is something that throughout the program you will be given material and opportunities to show what you have learned on the topic. We want you to understand the structure and how to lead a data analytics team. Understand the different roles, because even if you're not the one structuring the team, you're part of it, but you should be able to identify the roles required and work with the management team in case there's gaps in that area. So very important to also understand the complete data analytics cycle. This is one of the areas that is one of Alejandro's favorite areas, because we talk about the data analytics cycle. Many people come to us from a computing background, or they've done software development, and they do not fully grasp, and many teams do not fully grasp the big change or big difference there is when you're working with data. There's a huge mind shift required when you're working with data, trying to understand the cycle, the fact that you do not, with software projects, you know what the outcome will be. What it'll take. It might take a little bit longer to get there. With data programs or data projects, you do not know that upfront. If you knew the answer upfront, then the project is not needed. Alejandro, do you want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah, well, definitely. This is a big change if you're used to typical IT projects. There are some characteristics when you're doing an analytics project that is more similar to a research and development project than a typical IT project. So how you control these kinds of projects, how can you estimate the work, how can you minimize risk, And that is those aspects are covered in one of our courses, which I love, by the way. It's called Leading Data Science Teams and Projects, and it gives you a good idea of the different aspects, like, for example, data governance and how that is tied to the murky data that we were discussing at the beginning of this session. So very interesting certificate. And again, you're going to be producing the same kinds of machine learning models that the other program, but using other tools. One of the main tools we use in this program is Alteryx, and we actually have even additional packages that allows us to really extract the maximum out of the data set. So very, very interesting program. And these are the courses that we cover in this certificate. The first one, Data Science for Business Decisions, is a common course between the two programs. So it doesn't matter if you start with the DAB program or with the DSML program, you're going to take the same course as initial and common ground. This course is going to introduce the business aspects that are changing because of these technologies. What are the ethical considerations that you have to make, and very interesting aspects from a business perspective. Then we have two courses that are more related to the technical aspects. One is Statistics for Business Decision Making. We cover stats, but from an applied approach. Then Data Analytics Fundamentals, where in this course we cover machine learning models, how we evaluate them, how we create them. Then Leading Data Science Teams and Projects. As I mentioned, this gives you a good overview of the business aspects from how can you deliver this kind of solution in an organization point of view. And then both programs finish with the same course, Data Science Capstone Project. That is a real project that you have to develop in partnership with an organization. So we typically involve a partner organization, and you are going to be working in a team to deliver a solution at the end of the course. So you have 10 weeks to go through to an end-to-end solution, meaning you have to understand the business problem, you have to get data, you have to clean the data, produce models, create insights, present those insights, all that during 10 weeks, and sometimes working with multiple colleagues with different profiles. So that's a very nice way to finish and to use and apply everything that you learn in the certificate.
Yeah. So just to repeat on this one, there's two courses which are common between both programs, because we believe, and because it's a team, nobody really works on a project on their own, it's teamwork. You might as well, from the beginning, sit down with have different profiles of people together, make sure everybody's on the same level and understanding of what the expectations are. And then we get to the last project, to the last course, which is the project course. People come back together and you have different profiles of people working together. You might have noticed the word IIBA endorsed course. The IIBA is the International Institute of Business Analysts. They have right now a program called the CBDA, which is Certified Business Data Analyst. And our courses are aligned, or some of the material we have is aligned to the requirements that they have in their courses. That's why you have the endorsement from the IIBA. This is what the schedule looks like. We recommend for the schedule and for the price that you go to the website, because each course is individually, scheduled, and each course has its own price. Some courses are more expensive, some courses are a little bit cheaper, but you have to understand that the schedule is on the website. You can go there to figure out what's there and what's not, what's not. Now, when we talk about data science and machine learning, the program itself, the PDC, the big differences here is we talk about ingesting, clean, process, and analyze using different modes like batch and stream modes. Here, we're starting to talk more about the data engineering side of the house. And when we talk about data engineering, you see the word pipeline. We start talking about test and evaluate different machine learning techniques and which one to choose to solve which problem. And, if you look at the last one, it's there for both of them. Even if you're on the technical side, you have to be able to communicate, or more technical side, you have to be able to communicate with stakeholders through storytelling and through working, being able to explain things in business terms. These are the courses. As Alejandro mentioned, 2 of the courses are common. So the differences are in the 3 courses in the middle, where you start learning about statistical machine learning, and then you go into practical machine learning, which is how you apply your knowledge, and deep learning. You get to learn a bit about Hadoop and cloud through the data at scale course. Then you come into the capstone project, where you put everything together to solve a problem with lots of data. This is what the schedule looks like. Again, the website will have it along with the prices attached to each course. Now, the good news, and we'll talk about that after when we talk about prices, right now we're in the best of times to learn, because we have the government of Canada and of Quebec are providing help to students to study and to companies. So if you work for a Canadian enterprise, you can get 50% off your, off the fees. For the applied artificial intelligence, which is the follow-up program, the difference here is now you already know how to do things, but now we start talking about which of the algorithms should we use. How do we optimize and analyze errors? Like we look at analyze errors and optimize the processes that we have. And we're giving a lot more focus into different areas. So we have 2 required courses, and you choose 3 complementary courses out of these ones here. So you have predictive and classification modeling, neural networks and deep learning. Then you go into areas such as intelligent agents and reinforcement learning, data learning, deep learning for vision, NLP, time series, Internet of Things, and or recommender system. So you can choose 2 or 3 out of this group to help you focus in one area to help your company or the industry that you're in. This is the Scale AI funding I talked about. Very important to know that you get 50% off, and these are the courses and workshops that it's applied to, and you can go on to the website to know more about it. Now, Scale AI has extra funding if you want to do custom programs, and then here you get the company would get 85%. This is not for individuals. This is more for companies, and you get up to $100,000. You can get 85% of eligible expenses deducted and 50% of the balance. Again, very interesting, and we do have customers that have opted to go this way for a complete class within an organization.
And an additional benefit is that these courses are tax deductible. So yes, that's just an extra factor.
So now that we're here, we will open up the session to questions from you.
I have 3 questions that we received when we were giving the presentation. For someone that has no programming language experience, what are the minimum requirements to take the data science, program? So that is one question. Do you want to answer, Nabil, or should I?
Yeah. So if you don't have any programming background, usually we would recommend the data analytics for business certificate. That's more geared towards you, because what will happen if you don't have any background, for you to pick up that background and then to use it, there's 2 different things. If you don't have any background up to now, will you be using that background in the future? So if you spend time learning about programming, you learn about Python, you learn about all these things, is it something that you'll be using regularly, day in, day out? Usually if people have hit a certain point without doing it, or they're no longer using it, maybe they won't be doing it in the future. So this is something that you're going to have to do a reflection upon. But even people that are not Python knowledgeable and they have a technical background, let's say they're coming from an engineering background or computer scientist or physics or deep science background, what happens is, and they don't have the Python background, we will help you get there. Like we will provide you tools and systems that will allow you to practice and learn about Python, and even if you want to learn about R, but we insist that you learn about Python before you do the second course, because that is where it becomes very, very important. So it really depends on where you're coming from and where you're going with things. So having a technical background allows you to do the data science and machine learning program. However, if you're in a product role or a project role, we recommend strongly, or you only believe you're going to be working as a data analyst or just looking at the data, then the data analytics for business is the right place for you. I see some questions here. Do you want to, like one of the questions is, I don't have an engineering degree, can I apply? Each program has its set of requirements. It's on the website. You have to have a technical background to apply. However, work experience, what you're doing does come into, we do look at other factors to make decisions that people should join and which program that they do it.
Yeah, and I think your answer, Nabil, is connected to a question that Annie sent us because she works in marketing communication and she's interested in moving into the field. I would really recommend that you look at the DAB program, Data Analytics for Business, because if you don't have a programming experience, that is the program for you, because that doesn't require that you know how to program. We're gonna take you from knowing nothing about data analysis up to producing models using Alteryx. So Annie, take a look at the Data Analytics for Business program.
Yeah, so it is very important to know that. We will give you tools. Like I said, we will give you access to different systems, but this is something that you can start right away. You don't need us to tell you what to do. There's a lot of things out there to help you start building up your Python and programming background. If you need any guidance, we can give you some documentation to point you along the path and give you some courses that are free, that are accessible. Like you can go to Kaggle, they have some very good courses. You have W3 School has an excellent introductory course on Python. It depends. You have to have that motivation to do it. Somebody was asking a question, I think JF was asking about, is Power BI part of the curriculum? The answer is no. We use Tableau in the program. However, we need to, we in the last course, if you want to use that term, when we do the capstone, if you are an expert in Power BI and you want to use Power BI, we do not stop you from using Power BI or any other tool for that matter, because in the capstone project, it's really, you have to solve a problem, you do it any way you want. We don't do Power BI just because we had to make a choice between which programs do we want people to work with, and we made a choice on Tableau. However, around that, we teach you a lot of ideas about the tools and techniques of visualization and how to do things properly, which are independent of the tool itself. So if you use Tableau or use Power BI or use any other one, it doesn't really matter, because they're, at the end of the day, what your objective is to show information.
And an answer to a previous question connected to how to continue practicing between courses and the time that you're going to be using the tools that we're giving you. Well, as part of our programs, we typically give you a 6 months license for Data Camp, which is a platform that allows you to continue learning, to improve your Python skills, to improve your Tableau skills. So typically we give you more support when between courses, and you can use that to really improve your skills. And sometimes we give you even additional courses on the Coursera platform to complement what we are covering. So I would say these courses are very knowledge intense. So you're going to get a lot of resources. And if you're interested, you can be quite busy for quite a long period of time with just the material that we're giving you.
Someone was asking a question, is how many lectures per week? It's 1 lecture per week. There's a specific day, it's on the website. Sometimes if there's multiple sections, you might have different days. So you can choose between the days, but in general, it's 1 section, 1 lecture per week. Some courses may have tutorials. Those are done at a different time. Attendance for those is optional. However, listening to the material is required. So because we're recording everything, it is very useful for you to go back and check out what was done in the tutorial.
I just want to comment on the structure, because we got a lot of questions that are related to this. So each course, as you said, Nabil, is scheduled once per week, one evening, 6 to 9 p.m. And all the courses are scheduled in a sequence. So you cannot take 2 courses at the same time because they are prerequisites to each other. So the skills you're learning in the previous course will be useful for you in the next course. You absolutely have to complete the course prior to that before you move on to the next course. So it's once per week, but you also have a lot of homework to do, assignments to complete. So there's a lot of study time. You have to consider that. So somebody was asking if they can complete the program in a couple of months if they take all the courses at the same time. That is not possible, unfortunately. And we also think that that's not a great way to absorb the material as well and process it and remember it.
Absolutely.
It's too much. We find that people, because most people are working, it becomes, there's a absorption rate issue, which is, we found, and this is what I was saying earlier on, there's a big difference between, we found a difference in the output of knowledge, you know, with students coming out of a 10-week program than the 6 to 7 week program, because we have more time to give them material. They have more time to absorb also. So it's better to take the time to learn things properly. And if you find that you want to learn more, we're not stopping you. Actually, there's so much more you can learn. And actually, you can even go to your instructor saying, hey, you know, I'm really technical. Like we have had cases where people come to us where they're incredibly knowledgeable in one particular area or one tool, and then it becomes a question of how do you challenge them. And we can there's a lot of different ways that they can do it. Okay.
Another question was whether the online format means that the course is self-paced. And I think you partially already addressed that. I just want to reiterate that an online course means that the content was development for the online experience, but the sessions are still live. The advantage of the online course is that the sessions are recorded so you can rewatch them, and there are also additional materials for your self-paced activities, and as you mentioned, there are tutorials on top of the live sessions that are happening weekly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So there's a couple of questions and I'll answer them quickly, which is will these certificates be recognized if I want to start a master or PhD? The simple answer is no. The whole idea of learning with this is that you pick up certain skills. The university at this point, or different universities, do not have transfer programs, or they don't see these courses as part of the formal, you know, if you want to take master's and PhD programs. So there's no transfer between, you know, if you do the certificate, you do 2 certificates, you know, you have a master's. That's not the way it works.
You cannot transfer the credits, but we have some students have completed our program, and then that serves as a trampoline to their PhDs and to their master's program.
Exactly.
So there is no direct conversion, but it can be a good step if you're interested in a master program on data analytics, especially if you don't have the background.
So, and then there's a question of value add and job placement. So we have a group within the School of Continuing Studies called CATS, which is the Career Advising and Transition Services. They make you aware of what is there, what jobs are out there when companies come to us. We get a lot of requests from companies to help them place people or find people, to be more precise, and we have people going into different companies. So we have seen very, you know, many success stories of people finishing the program and changing orientation completely. We had you know, someone that has a math degree, master's in math. The person would have ended up being a teacher at the CGEP level, or, you know, or at the high school level, doing the program. Now this person is working as a consultant in data analytics. So it's, you know, this is something that was you know, a big win for us and for her. So you have a lot of these cases of people changing jobs and working more in the data side of the house of their own companies. Angel was asking the question, can I benefit from my background? The answer is definitely you can benefit from your background, because Python and SQL are, you know, both the base to build on top of for everything that we're doing. And the ability to access different databases, understand how they work, would be incredibly helpful.
Somebody was asking whether a background in sales and marketing would be eligible for admissions to into the data analytics program.
If they have a business background, the answer is yes. So the DAB is looking for people that have a business background as a starting point. They will take technical people, but in general, they look for a business background. You know, that's part of the requirements that you can find on our webpage. Someone is asking also about the cost. All the courses, the costs are outlined on a per course basis. They go from 1,002 to 1,004. I don't know the exact price, but you know, we have the 50% discount, etc. So you need to look at on a per course basis, and there's 5 courses to do. So Vivek, I hope we answered your question with that, and I hope we answered Sid's question by answering this. So
another question here, are algorithms and data structures part of the curriculum? If not, is this something that you should be knowledgeable before joining the program?
Alejandro, do you want to tackle that one?
We cover some fundamentals. Ideally, you should have a good understanding of data structures and algorithms, generic algorithms in general. When it's a particular algorithm that applies to machine learning and is necessary, we cover as part of the program. But again, ideally, if you're taking the DSML, the data science and machine learning program, you need to have a strong Python background, because if not, you're going to be learning Python as you learn how to produce these kinds of models and how to use these new libraries that are necessary to produce machine learning models. So it's not a hard requirement, but the more knowledge you have about data structures, algorithms, the better.
Yep.
And we had another question about the difference between this program and a diploma or a certificate program, probably on the credit side. The difference is that our programs consist only of 5 courses. If you are taking a diploma or a certificate on the credit side, then that will be a commitment to complete at least 8, 10, 13 courses. So it's a much longer program. Our programs are much shorter. And there was another question from somebody who is, they said staff at McGill, would it be who are interested in moving more into working with data? So as somebody who is staff at McGill, I would say that yes, absolutely. I would highly recommend it. And it helps me a lot in my work and working with data, with student registration data, with the financial data, with all of those aspects. We have so many databases. It's extremely important to understand how all of these things work, how we can produce better reports, and it's absolutely helpful.
Yeah. Financial assistance from government or bank for this course, the answer is no. They're not to my knowledge. So Harjel is asking, I don't have the program background. I would still apply, depending on your background, depending on your experience. They look at you as a person. They don't look at you as being just the education or your background. There's all these other things that come into experience. You know, they ask for a CV. They ask for what are you doing, how would this benefit you, etc. And you can put a letter on top of it saying, I would like to learn this for this. And you know, in some cases they might say you're missing the following areas. Please go back and take a course or 2 and then come back and apply to us. This is for Harjel, but this applies for everyone. Actually, this is important. Maybe this is a good time to bring this up. And I know we're running on overtime right now. Thank you for being with us. There is an expectation from everyone on the data science and machine learning side that they know stats before they start the program, and they know linear algebra. So if it's been a long time since you've done those topics, you will have to brush up on them before you start again. That is something which is very, very, very important. And to answer Giao's question, can you use courses from your master degree? Very rarely, because unless you have a course which is exactly the same as the course that we're giving. We've had it, I would say, I've been doing the program for 4 years, and I look at the exceptions usually. I've only had one exception up to now with one course. So, it is possible, and that course was statistics, where someone did a statistics course, which was, I would say, there was an overlap of nearly 90% between the courses. So obviously in that case, we would give you an exemption for it.
I just want to add about Scale AI, because this is a very important discount, and it offers 50% off to anybody who's registered into the data science, data analytics, or applied AI courses and some workshops. And the eligibility requirements are that the person lives in Canada, not even just in Quebec, but in Canada in general, and is employed, either full-time or part-time, doesn't really matter, or self-employed, it's not relevant, as long as they're working and they live in Canada, they have an address in Canada. So, once you fill out the form on the website, you at the registration moment, you will get the discount applied automatically.
Okay, so we will stop answering questions for me. We'll stop the recording. We will stick for a couple more minutes for if anybody has any last questions to ask, but we really thank you for your time. We're 10 minutes over right now, so let's free up everyone that wants to be freed up and go back. If you have any questions, you can send us emails. You should get the presentation and the video.